Grace.
Hi, it's Julia.
And for our code, we were able to get the test scripts to pass, but we did run into some issues with some Valgrind errors. The Valgrind was having problems with our calc calls. So when we ran it in single mode, we were getting an issue with how we allocated our headers, and when we ran it with forking mode, we were getting issues with our initial allocation of the request. We think this has something to do with the location or the order of our freeze of the variables. But after many hours kind of spent trying to dig through our code, we weren't able to find the exact source of those. And so those are still issues that are with our code. As for how the work was divided, Julie and I have actually been on Zoom all day, every day since Friday, and it is now Wednesday. And we found that having one person be on the code typing and having another person be a resource to Google stuff, look at virtual office hours, look at our class notes, things like that, made the coding process very efficient. Because we were able to bounce ideas off of each other and talk through a lot of this stuff, and it also helped a lot with kind of understanding more what we were actually writing, and made the process more enjoyable as well. So there's not really a clear way to break down what we did because did it all together. Right now will be included videos of our test scripts running, and also we did 2 of the Guru points, the VPS and the CGI personality quiz. So here are those videos.
So we decided that the best way to find both the average latencies and the throughputs for the directories, the static files, and the CGI scripts was through writing 2 separate scripts, one for latency and one for throughput. And both of them utilized multiple Thor calls that were within for loops, and that allowed us to run many tests for each subject to get the best averages that we could. For the throughput tests, I created 2 image files of each size, so 1 kilobyte, 1 megabyte, and 1 gigabyte. And with those new image files, I ran Thor on those in a similar way to the way that I ran them for the latency tests. And then, however, with the throughput tests, I then divided those values that I got from the Thor processes by the number of bytes downloaded to get the throughput. And I calculated those in megabytes per second. So the throughputs clearly are very similar. More notable is the latency, where the single connection tests are much larger than the forking mode tests. And this is likely because forking promotes parallel processes, while single connection makes each process run one at a time. The ability to run processes simultaneously, that's a huge benefit of forking. However, a big drawback of forking is that they're vulnerable to fork bombs if the kernel ever gets overloaded with parent-child copying requests.
To wrap up the project, something we gained from the experiments was that we were able to see firsthand those effects that Julia was just talking about. When running the test scripts, it was really hard to visualize what our code was actually doing. But when we were specifically testing for latency and throughput, we were better able to visualize our code and understand what was going on. As for the class as a whole, a big takeaway we're both walking away with is the ability to learn through struggling. We would both sit with the homework for hours. And while it wasn't always the most fun, it definitely taught us how to sift through error messages and learn how to debug your own code, which are valuable skills to have going into more coding classes in the future. We also learned that if you send Bowie a dumb message on Slack, he will make a CSE memes about you, so you have to be aware of that. But anyway, thank you guys for a great semester. It has definitely been fun, and we'll see you in a couple weeks for programming challenges. Bye.